Okay, here's a blast from the past. James Gandolfini. How is his soul doing? He's already passed, but let's see, how is his soul doing? I want to know. I'm curious. Um, James Gandolfini was lead actor in Sopranos. He played Tony Soprano. And he has a son that he also played himself in the movie. So his son played a younger version of Tony Soprano. So James Gandolfini, I'm trying to connect with James Gandolfini. There's this big connection with his son, I'm feeling. This lovely tenderness and fear as well. Lots of fear and these feelings of inadequacy, that he will be good enough for his son. Self-doubt, which of course happens when you love somebody, but you can get messed up in this, tangled up, so you don't. And self-doubt is a big thing with him, and if you have self-doubt, it can be hard to see reality over time if you don't have help with it. And I don't think he had enough help with untangling this conundrum of a self-doubt. So let's see, James Gandolfini. It feels like nothing is a failure in this universe, but it feels like it was a failed idea. It wasn't delivered. It feels like the way he wanted to try out his soul, the way his soul wanted to try out to solving this conundrum of self-doubt. It was a failed one. He didn't succeed in the way he wanted to do it, and the way he wanted to do it is to basically connect with completely the opposite trope, in the form of Tony Soprano, with that kind of soul, and be influenced by in his real, hopefully being influenced in his real life, with that kind of energy. But I don't think that worked, and that's what he figured out. That's what I feel, that his soul figured out that you can't really circumvent actually going for it, actually going for actual confidence with actions in the life. You can't really take shortcuts. You can't really play somebody like that in order for you to get closer to that. But he tried it out. He tried it out, and we commend him for it. It feels like the world is grateful for his kind of sacrifice of his soul, because he did the work that way in order to see if it works or not, but it didn't for him. So we are, as a world, we are one step closer in how to resolve this conundrum of self-doubt. So we are very grateful for, I feel the world is very grateful. I'm very grateful. I feel the gratitude in me, in what he did for us in this earth. James Gandolfini, he had a played. He played out the role of a failure uh, of whatever he was set up for himself to do. But that just makes him not a failure because he tried something, uh, even though it didn't succeed. But let's see, what is that that he didn't succeed in, and if that's actually reflected in the cards, whatever I'm saying right now. And let's see, it's all about this theme of self-doubt. But let's see, James Gandolfini, what's his soul all about now, about his earth life as a James Gandolfini? What does his soul think about this life? What are the lessons of his life? And I'm just feeling this immense gratitude that he was able to do this, even though he's seen it as a human. He's seen his life as a failure, but as a soul, he's seeing his life as a experience that he's immensely grateful for having, and as he was able to have this experience on the soul life, on the earth plane. But let's see, what does the card say? Yeah, it's like in this world, James Gandolfini couldn't let himself get close to his success. He couldn't look beyond his failure, or perceived failure, and only in the afterlife he's able to touch the success he had actually in the world, in this earthly life. But he was not able to. There was a lot of struggle in him. He was not able to touch his success while he was alive. Let's see, what does the other card say about James Gandolfini? I'm wondering. Yeah, he felt like, he didn't see himself correctly, or he was afraid to see himself as a beautiful character. And I wonder what that fear is all about. What prevented him for him to see himself as beautiful? I already feel like it's something in the lines of, it's something that kept him good person. That might be a failed belief, that if he see himself as successful and good person, that makes him actually a bad person. I already feel that. It was kind of like his protection mechanism, seeing himself as not a good person, which makes him into a good person. It's kind of like a martyr, I would say. Okay, let's see. What was behind this martyrdom, and if it was really martyrdom. Yeah, it was this it was familiar. It's really funny because he played as a Tony Soprano a character. James Gandolfini played Tony Soprano as a character. His big influence in his life as a Tony Soprano was his mother, and I see lots of beliefs that James Gandolfini had from his family he and female side. and Christianity, um, and that kind of protection, protection that Christianity gives, and familiar ties, even though it was like faulty beliefs, and you have to propagate those beliefs in order to feel like you're a part of a group. But it was like a carrot and stick kind of a thing, and that really served him. But he didn't want to get rid of those ties, because he felt like he doesn't have those ties, that he's done for. He doesn't know what's on the other side of not having those negative, I would say, abusive, kind of toxic ties, because he never tried. It feels like that's what is making him feel as like a failure, and maybe he didn't know that that's what's behind it, but maybe he did. Not really sure, but that it feels like that was behind it, this feeling of I'm not brave enough in order to explore the darkness of losing, of loss, in order for me to see what's on the other side of loss. He was not be able to step into that terror. Basically, it's kind of a terror, and yeah, that's why it feels like this kind of missed opportunity and unfinished business and unfinished life. This grief of not being able to finish something. He also had like drug problems also, 'cause this terror was just too great for him. And but let's see, how was this terror for him? Why wasn't he able to do this? Of course, it's very understandable. This the fear is completely valid for everybody and understandable. In any way you deal with it is not to be judged. Yeah, this feeling of losing himself with... It's funny because he was on the right track in the way you lose yourself away from this, go away from these fears in just not caring as much and being more like free. But he did this artificially. He was chasing this feeling artificially. It was on the right track of how to lose this fears. It's about like not caring as much of these cares. You know when somebody, it's like Stockholm syndrome. Stockholm syndrome abused people care about their abusers, but that's a kind of like a faulty care, not good kind of a care for yourself. He had that kind of a thing, Stockholm syndrome, but in order for him to go over this pattern, he should not care as much in the sense of, as we are using the word care. Care is a good thing in our society, to care, but sometimes it's not a good thing. We can care too much. We can care about things that are not good for us. We can blind ourselves with care and all that stuff. And he was very much tied into these patterns. But he kind of knew how to get out of it by not caring. That's a good thing. That was a good thing for him. But he did that artificially. He didn't know how to not care. He didn't know how to go go towards that feeling of not caring. Because he went about it in an artificial way with drugs and alcohol and all those stuff. But he knew how that this works. You know, he used alcohol in order to get to take this feeling of not caring, in order to get away from his familial patterns of dysfunction. But he didn't know how to do this without drugs, and but he did a lot of work in this life, and now he knows about all these patterns. He has much more awareness about it, and that's basically what it all is about. And it's a big kind of exciting path that his soul has been doing, in the sense of when I look at his soul, it's like it's very exciting. It makes me very excited to see the shape, the colors of his soul, because it's very, very interesting. And I think the world really liked looking at his soul as well, in the form of his persona. It's very interesting because in order to have this kind of like persona, you don't really think about having this kind of persona. You just do, but it can be a big heavy cross to bear, you know. It can be a heavy cross to bear, but you don't really choose it. It chooses you, this kind of path. And that's why we like him so much, because it's so unapologetic and real, authentic in his expression of his soul, because he cannot be anything else. And we see the beauty of a soul through him, because he's so transparent with himself. That's what that's what comes up on the screen. That's what comes up when you look at his aura, persona, whatever, his body, his mannerisms, everything. You see there's something there that it's interesting. Like, what is this magic? He's carrying this magic, and it's very transparent. This veil that separates ourselves from our magic is very thin with him. Everybody has problems, and everybody has the same amount of kind of like whatever we are dealing with. That's debatable, but in a sense, everybody has something to deal with, and he was willing to go for it. And I don't think that's he was willing to live his life this way. I don't think that's a failure, because everybody has something to deal with. So James Gandolfini, I don't think his soul knows that this was not a failure, but the remains of him as a James Gandolfini, not as a past soul already, but his life as James Gandolfini. I just feel like I want to give him this like gift of, you're alright, you're okay. I think that's what he needed in his life, for somebody to tell him, you are okay. So, thank you.